Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. All right, welcome back for another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. I'm so excited to have a previous client of mine on to the show today. This is the first time ever that this has happened. And Taylor, you and I worked together a couple months ago. We finished up and it seems like forever ago, but I know it wasn't that long. It's like time flies.
Yeah, it feels like it's been, I don't know. I feel like I just talked to you 2 weeks ago and it's been a couple months. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so let me read your bio so that everybody that's listening can know a little bit about you. So Taylor is in her junior year of college, working towards her nursing degree. And during her free time, she works as a consultant for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in hopes of bringing a survivor's voice and point of view on the prevalence and the seriousness of sextortion, which I'm really excited to get into your story and why that position is so meaningful to you, and then talk a little bit about how coaching helped you specifically in your own personal life.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Same. So tell us, I hate to just like dig in right into the childhood, but that seems like it's the best place to start. I know, and again, you do this now for a living, and so I know that part of your job is going and sharing your story with people. So I'm sure by now it's coming a little bit easier for you. But yeah, would you would you share with us kind of why this position is so important to you?
Yeah, of course. So this position is extremely important to me. I think if I were to drop out of nursing school, I would probably do this full time.
Mm.
And it's so important to me because I was sexually exploited online my freshman year of high school all the way through my junior year of high school. Um, so obviously it left a huge impact. And at first it was so many unanswered questions because we weren't sure who the offender was. It was something that was so out of the blue, and it felt like a scenario that you would see in a movie. Like, people make movies off of this. So for it to happen to me in real life, and at first not know what it was or it have a name to it, yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, I know your story quite well, and I remember when we first even just had our first call to see if coaching was going to be a good fit for you. You're like, "Do you know what sextortion is?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, I know what it is, but what does it mean for you?" And so, for people that are listening that might not know what this is, can you give us a rundown of what that means?
Absolutely. So sextortion is what we kind of like to call a new age child exploitation. It is when a person contacts a child online in hopes to receive either monetary gain, sexually explicit content, whether that be images, photos, or eventually meet up for some type of sexual activity or contact in that way. And what really makes this hard and what really makes this challenging is that it is online. And of course, we have so much new technology that people are able to reach our kids better. So with that being all online, offenders can meet up with the child who they are seeking to exploit, or they could do it all online. So when it comes with sextortion, it is the ultimate fear and manipulation, coercion, with the possibility of the offender posting the explicit content that they have of that child online. So whether it be to like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything kind of like that, that's really what sextortion is and why it is different from, the traditional child exploitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this brings me back to this recent show that's been on Netflix, The Most Hated Man on the Internet. I'm not sure if you watched that or not, but gave me the creepy crawly.
Yes. And also, along with that, the most hated man on the internet, I was recently at a conference in Dallas back in August, and two a producer and a director were there, a husband and wife, phenomenal people. They recently did a documentary called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. That's available on like iTunes, Amazon. You like buy it for $10. It is phenomenal. It is very eye-opening. It really kind of hits home just how likely this is to happen and how closely it happens, to our homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will definitely be checking that out because I think of my niece and nephew, right? Like they're young, they're what 11 and 8 now, and the acts. First of all, the amount of activity that kids are using on their phones and tablets, and parents can only restrict stuff so much. But even with those restrictions, people that are doing this, offenders that are doing this, they know the workarounds around those things, right? And from your experience, you said, you weren't really sure who this was. And so you thought maybe it could have been a classmate of yours for a long time. Can you speak a little bit more about your personal experience and what this was like for you when you said freshman through junior year?
Yeah, so I will start at the beginning. I was a freshman in high school, so I was maybe about 14. We were halfway through school year, give or take, and I got a message on Facebook from an account that didn't have a profile picture, and the name was Closed Turn, which I immediately, it red flagged in my little adolescent brain, like, this might not be an actual person. So they sent me a couple messages just kind of saying, hey, like, contact me. I have some information for you. And for at least a couple days, I ignored it because I was like, this is so strange. Like, if this was someone I knew or one of my friends, that they would just reach out to me, via text, or they'd stop me in school and be like, hey, did you hear this? But one night I'm out to dinner with my family. We are actually at TGI Fridays. I can remember exactly where we were sitting in the restaurant. And I get another message from this person, and they said, look, this is really important. You might want to answer me. So I finally respond back. I said, who are you? What do you want? Like, what do you need to tell me? And they responded back and they were like, look, I have this information on you, and if you don't do what I want, I'm going to tell your friends and your family, and everybody is going to hate you. And at this moment, I was a 14-year-old. Snapchat, Instagram, everything was new. I was, in that puberty age. So I was exploring, with my body. I was taking naked pictures of myself. I had sent them to maybe one person. But I was like, oh my God, like, does this person maybe have that? Like, is this someone I go to school with? Because, a year prior, our 8th grade year, one of my close friends had, sent a topless picture to a grade older boy, and he had kind of showed his friends. So I was like, oh my God, like, maybe this is that. So my heart drops. I sit quiet all the way home. And as soon as I get home, I rush out of the car and I run upstairs to my room. I shut and lock the door, and I'm like, okay, what do you need? And he responded back and he was like, I need a full-length mirror. I need you to send me a picture of you in your clothes. And then he wanted one of me in my bra and underwear, and then another one of me fully nude. And each time he reiterated that my face had to be in it, or whatever information that he had, which I didn't know at the time what it was, he was going to tell everybody, and everybody was going to quote unquote hate me. Mm-hmm. So being 14, I'm like, absolutely, I'm going to take care of this shit myself. Like, nobody else is going to know. So that kind of is where it kind of all started.
Yeah. And again, I'm glad that you reiterated that you were a freshman in high school. You were about 14. Because I know there's people listening to this like, oh my gosh, she was taking naked pictures at 14. Like, that is the naiveness in people. Like, I have shared many times in the podcast, like, I personally lost my virginity at 14. I was, sexually active before then with kissing and hand stuff and finger stuff, like it. And even now in today's life, like, kids are starting younger and younger and younger, which I'll just throw out is why sex positive conversations are so important. But for your experience, like you said, i would I would have probably done the same thing in your position, because when you're a freshman in school, you have all of that pressure. You're at the bottom of the totem pole, right? You're trying to be liked. You're going through puberty. You're trying to figure out who you are. And so to hear something from a complete stranger that's saying, like, I have this information on you that is potentially going to ruin your life, you don't even think twice about then sending, really, like you said, whatever they need in hopes that you can kind of like put this to bed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It did not cross my mind after that initial conversation with this person um, to not do it. It
Mm-hmm.
was get it done, get it over with. And he had even said, this is a one-time thing. After this, I'll leave you alone. And so I'm like, if this is all I have to do to get this to go away, like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I had even told one of my really close friends at the time, who was a year or two older than, I think she might have been 2 years older than me. And I told her what was going on. She's like, Taylor, don't do it. You know, it's not real. Like, this person has no information on you. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I cannot run that risk
Mm-hmm.
of there potentially being something.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised by my grandparents, so they weren't really familiar with technology, and the talks that we got were don't talk to strangers online, and that's fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't talk to strangers in general. But I think, especially now, there's a fine line of, you can't just say don't talk to strangers online anymore, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not how it is. Everything is at your fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah, half of the people that follow me on Instagram are technically strangers, right? Like, you were a stranger at first when
Right.
I first met you, even.
Right.
But
And I
you,
found you on Facebook Reels.
yeah,
Like, it's,
exactly.
yeah,
So
it's so different.
I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, being more specific in conversations that we're having with people. And so this man, we know now it was a man. It was not, in fact, a classmate of yours. He said it was going to stop there, and we know that it didn't. So what transpired from this point?
So from that point, the same friend who I told, I had texted her back probably an hour later, and I was like, listen, oops, I did it. She was like, okay, well, we'll figure something out. So the very next day, she pulls me aside in class, um, and she's like, look, we're going to go to our school resource officer. And I was like, nah, this guy said he was going to go away. Like, I haven't heard anything today. I think it's fine. Like, I really think that it's going away. And she's like, no, 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 no. Like, we are going. So she forces me down to the school resource officer's office. And I'm thinking, okay, if there is anybody who could help me, it could be him, just in case this isn't actually what we think it is. And so I walk in, and I kind of give him a brief rundown of what's going on. And he's like, okay, well, just ignore it. And I was like, well, listen, I can't kind of really ignore it anymore, because I've already sent like 3 or 4 pictures. This isn't something that I'm just going to be like, okay, it's over, it's done. Like, it happened, it is done. But, how we respond next is kind of, it's either going to be great or it's going to be detrimental. And he looks at me and he's like, well, can I see your phone? And I was like, absolutely. Like, you can see the conversations, this, that, and the third. And as I hand him my phone, he looks me straight in the face and says, is there anything on here that I don't want to see?
Hmm.
Implying the pictures that I had sent. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I didn't delete anything. And so he made me delete the photos before he would look at the conversation.
Mm.
Now, over the summer, I've done about 3 different conferences, all involving, law enforcement, mental health professionals. And every time I say this, when I talk about my lived experience, all the officers just kind of stare at me like,
Mm-hmm.
what the hell? He made you delete evidence. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And from
So,
his perspective, though, kind of doing like a cover your ass, right? Because then what does that
mm-hmm,
conversation look like? That I knew there was nude photos on here, and then I asked for her phone.
right.
I could see, I definitely see both sides of it.
Absolutely. And especially with him thinking, that this is probably just somebody, I go to school with, or somebody my age, in the community. I totally get it. And as I go through my experience, I will die on the hill that he did not mean as much harm that ended up happening. I will die on the hill that he was just not educated. He is an
Mm-hmm.
older officer. And I just don't think, talking about child sexual abuse material is very taboo almost. People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But, this unfortunately can be, the difference between life or death for a child. So I think definitely trying to bring more awareness there to talk about it is huge.
Yeah. And maybe I made a mistake. Was it the school resource person, like the counselor that said this to you, or it was a police officer that said this to
No.
you?
So our school resource officer is actually a deputy, a local deputy who works in the school system. So he is an actual sheriff's deputy from where I'm from, and I was like, great, he is an actual police officer.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody can help me, it is him. It's not just this guidance counselor or some type of other resource person. It's an actual officer. So for him to sit there and tell me on my first initial contact, like, just ignore it, it's going to go away, like,
Yes.
kind of spiraled me into the next 2 years of being exploited and manipulated and coerced into doing these pictures and videos.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That makes so much more sense. And I'm glad that I asked for that clarification. So, yeah. So, this man that is, like you said, coercing you, manipulating you, this continues for basically 3 years of your life. And it's constantly the same story. I have something on you. And that point, then now you knew after, the first thing you say, you knew now what he has and what you've sent in the past. And so, do you feel this gradually just got worse and worse and worse for you until the point then you told other people?
Yes. Once everything kind of came to an end, once he was arrested, once I really should say once he was found, arrested, and they went through all of the files, he had nothing.
Mm.
Everything that he posted on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter of me were all photos that I had sent him. There was no information, no pictures, no nothing that ever came out.
Mm.
And what, people are finding more is that predators like this are in chat rooms on, it doesn't even have to be the dark web. It could be, you search on Google a
Mm-hmm.
chat room of people with similar interests, and they share what tactics and techniques worked for them in order for them to get, quote unquote, as many victims as possible. And so they just share tips and tricks, and if it works, then they go back and they're like, yeah, this worked.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
Literally so
Yeah.
fucked up.
It
Oh.
was it was a weird time. I had a very set schedule with him. He would text me that morning. He knew my school schedule. He had my cell phone and would text my cell phone from a Hushmail account, which Hushmail is a Russian-based email. I don't want to say email browser, but like an email company who people
Mm-hmm.
pay for, so they're extra protected. So trying to get any information out of them is like trying to get information from a dead person. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. So he would text me every morning and say this is what he needed from me, and it had to be put in a specific Dropbox that he made for me,
Mm-hmm.
specific username, password, everything, by 8 o'clock that night. And if not, then he was going to post the things that he already had that I had sent. It didn't matter if I had extra curricular activities after school that day. Didn't matter if I had plans. My world had to revolve around making sure that he was satisfied in order for me to continue to live my life. And as time went on, I think things did get more severe. At first, it was just photos, and then it was videos. It would be, him saying, well, you need to send me a video of you strip teasing, and this is what I want you to wear. These are the colors that I would like. He would tell me whether I needed to use my front camera, my back camera, whether I needed to have flash on, no flash. And if the position didn't look right of the camera, or something was blurry, or just he didn't like the way it looked, pardon me, he would make me redo it all over again. So it definitely got more graphic as time went on. And it was weird because I formed this trauma bond with him, because it went from 3 or 4 days a week to 2 days a week to maybe once a week. And in those times that he would reach out to me an extra day during the week, it wouldn't be about sending him any photos or videos. It would be him asking me how my day is, or how school's going, or asking about my family, or what I like to do for fun, or if I had pets. And so he would carry a one-sided conversation with me without giving any information on himself. So it was that bond kind of formed. And then my final straw was, it was my junior year. We were probably 2 months out from graduation. I was graduating early as a junior because I wanted to get the hell out of the school system. I was like, if this blows up ever, like, I need to not be here. So, I mean, school, being liked in high school is so hard as it is. And, I'm like, something like this is still like, now this could really ruin me in my mind. I'm like, this can really ruin who I am, how people view me. And if or when it happens, I don't want to be around these people. Not that, anything was wrong with them, but, just high school, I guess is the best way to put it. So at this point, I guess you could call it a long-term boyfriend. We had been together for about a year, and we had gotten together after I had gotten wrapped up in this whole mess. The whole time we were together, he had no idea. His family had no idea. My friends had no idea. My family, nobody. So this guy reaches out to me again, and he's like, yeah, you're kind of getting a little too old for me. Like, you don't have basically that child look to you anymore. You're getting older. And I want one last thing from you. I'll give you a week to think about it, and you let me know how this is going to go. So my options were make a sex tape of my boyfriend and I for him, or have him post my images and my videos online. And I knew in that moment that there was no way in hell I was getting anybody else involved in this. I didn't know how I was living every day with this secret, carrying this weight, and there was sure as hell I wasn't going to make anybody else do this. So I took almost a full week to think about it, even though I already knew my answer was no. But I felt like I was buying myself more time for the inevitable, for, what I knew eventually was going to come. So I remember sitting my boyfriend at the time down, and I'm like, look, this is what's going on. But I need you to understand that this has been happening since before we were together, but it's just kind of continued. I know that I should have told you, but I haven't told anybody else. I don't know what to do. And so he looks at me and he's like, look, we have to tell somebody. And I was very adamant about not telling anybody, because I had told my school resource officer. And I also forgot to mention, a couple months being wrapped up into this exploitation, I had gone back to my school resource officer and I said, look, I know you said you couldn't help me, but do you know anybody in your department, any counselors, anybody that can help me? And he looks at me and he says, no, I don't, sorry. So,
Oh my gosh.
I went to him twice and both answers were no. So when my boyfriend at the time told me that, I was like, no, like a police officer said he can't help me. Why that? Who else am I going to go to? And he was like, we have to tell your grandparents. So it's probably 8, 9 o'clock at night. We're sitting outside on the porch with my grandma. And I look at her, and in my head, I'm like, I know how this lady is going to react. Like, she has raised me, like, I know how this is going to go down. So I look at her, and I'm like, Grandma, hear me out. And she gives me that look that moms give you. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm in big trouble. I was like, I know you're going to be mad, but right now I need you to not yell at me. I just need to tell you what's going on. She's like, what is happening? Like, what's going on? And I was like, okay. So I give her the rundown of what's going on. I don't go into full detail. I just kind of like give her the basic like 5-minute version. And she was definitely shocked. She was upset. But in the moment she didn't yell. And I was like, okay, nice. I escaped that one for, for a little bit. And you know, the next thing she says to me is, well, you should probably get your phone number changed. I was like, damn, that's a really good idea, Grandma. Like,
Yeah.
I knew you'd have an answer somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Adults, right?
Adults, right. I was like, finally, someone tells me something to do. It might not solve all my problems, but it's a start. So the next day I go to Sprint and I get my phone number changed. I don't remember if at this point I still had Facebook. I think I did, but I had made it so nobody could friend me. And a week goes by after I change my phone number and it's quiet. I don't hear anything from him. Obviously, because he doesn't have my phone number, he can't get a hold of me. And then one night, we're in May. It's May. And I'm like, oh God, maybe 4 weeks, 3 weeks from graduation at this point. And my aunt, who is only a couple years older than me, she's like, hey. I was like, yeah, what's up? She like came into my room and she was like, is this the person that's been in contact with you? And it was him, with the closed turn Facebook account, messaging her, saying that if I could just contact him one more time, like he just needs me to do one more thing and it'll be over. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like now he's reaching out to my family, like what is happening? And so I was like, I sat and I pondered for a little bit and I was like, do I reach out to him? And do I do this one last thing? And he says it'll be all over. And I thought about it for maybe not even an hour. And I had to stop and tell myself, like, listen, this is how you got involved in this. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, and it led you to the next 2 years of every day. This is your life. So I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I told her, I said, just stop answering. Like, I'm not going to do it. And hopefully he just goes away. And unfortunately, I was not that lucky. About an hour later, I get a phone call from another family member, and she's like, Taylor, what's this? And I immediately knew, my heart sank. I knew exactly what it was. She didn't have to say where it was, what it was. I already knew. And I said, what is it? She said, what's on Facebook? And I was like, fuck. Like, he kept his word. I didn't think that he would actually post anything. I always knew it was a possibility, but now here's all my naked photos and my videos that I sent him. on Facebook. And he didn't go as, he went further than just making a profile with my name and with my picture. He went as far as to posting these pictures and videos in a status form and tagging, friends, family. He tagged my teachers, my school administrators. He tagged anybody in the surrounding tri-state area who might know me or know who I am, know somebody that knows me. And so I was mortified. I was like, what do I do? So I'm like, okay, now he's threatening to, at the same time as he's posting these pictures, come into my school tomorrow, shoot up the school, find me. He said he was going to kill me and rape me. And, he said that he would kill anybody in his path to get to me. So at this point, really, law enforcement now has to be involved. So we call 911 and we kind of tell them what's going on. And we live really on the south end of the county, so it takes, really anybody 30 to 40 minutes to get to our house. So about an hour goes by and law enforcement shows up, and it's the deputy sheriffs. And they come in and they're so nice. They're so nice. I tell them what's going on, and the deputy kind of looks at me and he's like, look, I'm a road deputy. I don't really work this. I don't know how to go about working this. He's like, but I know someone who can. And I was like, okay, like, all right, if you say so. So he steps outside, he calls his coworker, and about an hour later, I get a knock on my front door. And I was like, I looked at this guy because I looked at the sheriff and I was like, look, do I answer that? Like, maybe this guy actually came to my house to kill me. He's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's another deputy. You can answer the door. And as I answer the door, this deputy is standing there and he says, hi, I'm so-and-so from blah, 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 sheriff's department. I am their cybersecurity guy. And the only thing I could think of in my fucking brain was, I have been waiting 2 years to meet you. And my school resource officer who works in your department told me nobody out there could help me. So I'm like inside overjoyed because I'm like, holy shit, somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this going to go? I don't know. So he comes in. We sit at my kitchen table till about 2 a.m. and honestly, we get nowhere because this guy is using the Tor, which is a browser or some type of system that you can literally download to a flash drive, which completely masks your IP address. You're pretty much untraceable. So as we were trying to ping his IP, we were getting, places in Europe, places in the United Kingdom. It just, all of these different countries. And I was like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? Another bump in the road. The investigative side of it lasted probably about a year and a half. During that time, I felt uneasy because my offender would come and go. So he would come every couple months. It could be a month, it could be a week, it could be 4 months. And every so often, he would just make a new Facebook and post more content saying, this dumb bitch really thought I was going away. Like, this is going to be the rest of your life. And he would keep tabs on me, which was odd because I had no idea how the hell he was doing it. Because I no longer had social media at this point. After that first initial posting of all of my stuff, I deleted everything. I didn't want people to be able to contact me unless it was in person or they had my new cell phone number. I wanted to be as off the grid as possible. Um, and unfortunately, he still knew what I was doing, so
Mm-hmm.
he would come back and terrorize me and my family when he knew we had big events going on. So whether it was birthdays or graduations or, maybe someone got married or someone died, like it was just nonstop harassment. And there were many times where I had sat down with the detective who worked cybersecurity, and he was like, "Look, we're not getting anywhere. I'm not saying we're going to close your case, but we're kind of done working on it until he comes back and posts more shit." And I wanted everything to be over so badly. Like, I thought there was no way I was ever going to live a normal life. I was never going to be able to have kids. I was never going to be able to get married because how, as a spouse, do you overlook something like that? You know what I mean? I mean, at least that's what I thought when I was, 17, 18 years old. Um, and then one day I'm at work and the detective comes in and he sits down at my table. I was a server at the time at Lido Pizza. And he's like, "Listen, we have some really good stuff going on." And I was like, "Oh shit, like really? Like what's happening?" And he's like, "Look, I really can't tell you." So I'm like, okay, like, are you sure, like, there's a bunch of stuff going on? And he's like, "Look, I just need you to hang on a little bit longer for me." And that phrase is really what kind of kept my faith in the whole thing. Because I was like, okay, he has been the only one to
Mm-hmm.
really look at this and be like, this isn't what we actually think it is. This isn't kids just sending pictures back and forth. Like, there's something more to this. And so, you know, 6 months maybe go by. And now we're in August of 2017. I feel like I blinked and it went from 2015 to 2017. I'm graduated high school. I'm just working, going to college, and I had just gotten home from vacation. And he shoots me a text and he says, "Hey, are you up for a call?" And sometimes our calls were, "Hey, how are you? How's it going? Are you doing okay? Can I do anything for you?" And other times it was, "Can you tell me this, this, and that?" And I'm like, "Okay, like I can tell you this information. What's going on?" And it's "I can't tell ya." So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this conversation could go one of two ways. So I call him, and at first it's the normal chit chat of, "Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, well, what are you up to?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm out in California." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Are you out there for work? Or are you out there for like vacation?" And he goes silent for, I don't know, probably 30 seconds. And I'm like waiting for a response. And all of a sudden he says, "Yeah, we got your guy." And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
"What?" He's like, "No, no, no, yeah, we got your guy." And I remember hitting my knees crying, like full on ugly crying, because I never thought in my life that this day would come. This guy told me he was untouchable by the law. Nobody was ever going to find him. Like, he was doing this to so many other people. And I was like, holy shit, it's
Mm-hmm.
over. Like, it's really over. So the guy ended up being, at the time of his arrest, he was 26 years old. His name is Buster Hernandez, and he ended up being from Bakersfield, California. And I'm located in freaking like Maryland. So I'm like, how? Come to find out,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't know any information about what was going on because there ended up being 375 other victims that he was actively doing this to.
Mm.
Yeah. So
I even I've heard this story before, right? And I still have goosebumps, and I'm like still over here, just like, yeah, like full body chills, like wanting to fist pump for you, like waiting for you to get to this like happy ending part of it
it
because
was
yeah, it's. God, I can't even believe you just went through this for so
I
long.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't think there would be an ending, like, a quote happy ending. Not that anything is about this is happy, but really a closure. You know, I didn't have to worry about him, coming back in a couple months to bother me. I didn't have to worry about him continuing to post images or videos. Like, it was like, holy shit. Now we can work on taking down whatever is out there down. We don't have to worry about new stuff coming in or anything like that.
Yeah. And that was, you said, what year was that, the arrest?
The arrest was in 2017.
And then when was he sentenced?
So he actually was just recently sentenced. We went to court March 12th of 2021. So, federal court system, there's always delays, there's pushbacks. Um, he ended up firing his attorney like right before we went to court. And so, of course, that pushed it out. And then COVID happened. And so, it was everything under the
All the
sun.
things, yeah.
But he was sentenced to 75 years in federal prison, no chance of parole. And I believe he's probably under maximum security, so he probably doesn't die, if I had to guess. I mean, people don't take lightly to that type of offense.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. I mean, he only asked for 30 years, which I thought was crazy.
But again,
I was like, 30 years?
Yeah, he's untouchable, right? In his eyes. He knows how to manipulate. He was, I mean, good at what he did. Over 300 victims. I mean, my God.
Yeah, I mean, he had, I think it was like a 12-hour, like, psychiatric evaluation. And to sum it up, really, they said, lights are on, nobody's home. He's a sadist. He has no remorse in what he does. If he's let out, he will 100% do this again. Like, there's no guilt, there's nothing. He thinks he's God's gift to earth and thinks that what he does is fine. I mean, it was plain to see because he was able to address the courtroom and he literally said, yeah, I'm really sorry for my family and what I put them through. And I'm really sorry to the victims' families.
Wow.
But no, I'm sorry to them. I feel bad about what I did. It was, yeah, sorry, love my family.
Yeah. I remember when you told me this guy's name, like looking him up, and I remember thinking, this is exactly who you would picture to be doing something like this. Exactly. Yes. I mean, to a T. And I'm sure people listening are be like, let me get on Google right now to see
this. And look up this man.
Yeah, I mean, it's public information at this point now, where you can see everything. You can look him up.
The sentencing. I mean, it was like 41 federal charges. I mean, he did this all over the U.S. and in 2 foreign countries. So they named him, and it's so weird to even be like, oh, he has a title because he's a piece of shit. He shouldn't have a title. But, in the court system, our judge, she was like, he's probably one of the most prolific, like, sextortionists to date in history. So it was just,
yeah,
it was crazy. My experience started in like 2015, but he was linked back all the way to 2012,
Yeah.
And technology advanced plenty from 2012 to then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like short, sweet version.
Yeah, short and sweet, 45-minute version, but so needed for us to just to hear and to know you so much better. And again, the original question was, why is the work that you do now so important? And this is why you relate so much to this with other girls, boys even, that have gone through this. And I know I've said it before, but I'm so sorry that you ever had to go through anything like this, that anybody has to go through anything like this. And to your close, when all this sort of ended, so now here you are in your 20s, right? You're in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. When you came to me, you're engaged at the time. Yeah, you are engaged, not at the time. You're
I'm
still
still
engaged.
engaged. Still engaged. Still very much so
So
engaged.
yes, I get to see all of your cute pictures all the time. And but you came to me because now trying to be a woman, essentially figuring out who you
Mm-hmm.
are with this super traumatic past. And I know that you had gone through other, therapy and psychiatrists and all those things. But to bring light on specifically your sex
Mm-hmm.
life and relationship after experiencing something like this, your body image, your own, sexual power, your personal power. That's really the work that we got to do
Yes.
together.
Yeah. It was such great work. Like, I recommend you to literally all of my friends, anybody who's like, yeah, like I might need to see like a sex therapist. I'm like, oh, hold on, girl, hold on. I got the name. Just wait. But it helped so much because, like you said, I had gone through other therapies. I'm 20s, early 20s. I'm only 23 now, but I'm trying to figure out who I am, and I still think I'm uncovering that. But for me, it's so hard because I can easily have hookups or flings because there's no emotion attached to it. There's no, well, this is who I am, you know, let's mesh together. But being engaged, I have to learn how to meet my partner's needs, not just mine. I can no longer be selfish, and having an emotional connection for me made it, as odd as it sounds, it made it harder
Mm.
to provide for my fiance's needs, as terrible as that might sound. But it was, it's a trauma response. And when I started working with you, I was like, okay, it's normal to feel this way. However, I have to learn how to kind of bypass those feelings, validate them, but say, okay, you're validated, see you later.
Mm.
And I feel like that's exactly what we did, you know.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm glad you said too that what you felt it was a trauma response, because again, going back from your experiences with this person with the sextortion and everything, it was like you were giving into needs for the majority of your older adolescent life, right? You were always giving into this other man's needs. So
mm-hmm.
then to move into this relationship, which of course it's different because you have a actual connection with this person, you love this person,
Absolutely.
like that. In when I said actual, I meant, that in person, like you knew this person, you knew
Yes.
information about them.
This is
So different.
right. It wasn't a one-sided,
Yeah. And
relationship. It wasn't a one-sided connection. It was, hey, I love you, you love me, like I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel connected. um, but when it came to intimacy, I mean, even now we are so much better than we were, but I still feel like, sometimes I let those feelings take the best of me. I feel like I can't relax my body. I feel like, I struggle with body image. And I mean, I still, even now, like, we aren't living together. He moved down the road for work. We're looking to buy a house, but like even now, I can't like send him a sexy photo because I'm like,
mm,
no thanks, nudes, sending photos, that's just not for
yeah.
me.
Yeah, you still have these guards up, which of course rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the work that we got to do together is really, I remember taking you through your erotic blueprint and
That was so
realizing
fun.
that, which, and you can share if you want, but which of those blueprints you came up as, and being
Yes,
able to explore that within that safe, secure relationship, like you said, that you have with your fiance.
yes. I don't know if he's going to listen to this podcast, and if he does, hey babe, sorry, but we both took the erotic blueprint, and we both came back as kinky, which honestly, no surprise to either of us. And so, seeing the erotic blueprint and it giving ways of how to incorporate that into your sex life, safe ways. ways that you both feel comfortable. It was huge because I was like, now I can really try this. Like, I feel okay. We had, our weekly sessions. I was like, this is normal. Like, sex isn't weird. Like, we can talk about it. Like, we can talk about masturbation and, having sex and getting down and dirty without it being weird. So it was, anything around sex or explicit content was so taboo for me for so long. And, having this lived experience, I was like, ew. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to do it. But yeah, having therapy with you changed it completely.
And I remember too, when you first came, it was mainly around the issue for you of not being in the mood, not wanting to have sex. Like, you came to me and you said, like, I think about it, I'm wanting to want it, but when it comes down to the moment, like, you were losing that connection with him. You were dropping out pretty quickly. And so you felt like you weren't having those connected sexual experiences. You both were kind of feeling that. And so to be able to take you through and educate you on the different types of desire, we went through the SIS and the SES exercise for the sexy context for you, like, just helping you realize, one, that a lot of what you're feeling was completely normal in a lot of ways. Like, you're not the only woman that comes to me with these same things, but to add in that extra couple layers of the trauma that you went through, just to be able to shed light on that for you was one of my most proudest moments, working with you, for you to just, I feel like I could see it, and we work virtually, but I feel like I could just see that relief over you. Like, oh, like, I feel like almost every session you were just like, oh, like these light bulb moments constantly.
And that's exactly how I felt. I was like, oh, like, that makes sense. Like, I get it. I get everything kind of just meshed together so perfectly. Every session that we had, helping to find my exciters and blockers was huge too, because there were blockers there that I didn't even realize were blockers, like terms that we would be saying while we were having sex in the moment, where it would be a phrase maybe that I had heard from Buster, and I was like, oh, take it out. Don't want to do it anymore. But, I didn't want to say that. But, you helped me be able to be comfortable enough to go to my fiance and be like, listen, I love what we do, but this is what I don't like hearing. And I remember having that conversation with him, and we both had that, like, aha moment of, like, he's like, I don't like saying it, but I thought you liked it. And I was like, I hate it. And he's like, oh my God, I hate it too. And I was like, holy shit, like, we just got to speak to each other.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And I mean, of course, he tells me all the time, he's like, Taylor, I never know what the fuck you're feeling because you don't show your emotions. And I'm like, look, working on it. Love you. Yeah. One step at a time, my guy. But I will say, I'm so unbelievably blessed to have such a patient and understanding fiance. He can tell me something a million times, and even if I don't change it, he's like, hey, remember? And I'm like, oh, thanks for reminding me again. Like, I love you. I'm really sorry. So I've definitely been blessed to have someone so understanding, and someone who wants to understand, my past and my experiences, and who doesn't shame me for it or judge me for it, who's like, that shit fucking sucks, fuck that guy, fuck this, like, you are so great. And he doesn't use it against me, which, sometimes I feel like relationships can be a little crazy, a little rocky, but I have been, again, so very blessed to find, my lifelong partner who is so great to me.
Yeah, and I also value so much of your support system with having family support. Him, you now, again, working where you're working, you have that community of people. I know that you shared too, when throughout our time together, you were able to make friends with some of the other victims, and just to have to have those groups, to have these voices in your life and these sounding boards in your life just to help you along this way has, I'm sure, just made all the difference in the world for you to have these people that love and support you.
Absolutely. My family was so supportive. You know, they're still supportive. They love that. You know, I do this type of work because this is something that needs to be heard, and I am so unbelievably thankful and grateful that I was able to meet, you know, some of the other victims that were directly involved in the same case that I was, because we might not talk every day, but if any one of us needs something, we have a group chat, we reach out, and more than likely, 9 times out of 10, if one person's feeling this way, someone else is too, if not maybe all of us. And I'm so blessed to be able to, you know, be friends with them on social media and everything, and just also watch them grow and overcome and blossom into these beautiful young women, you know, who also overcame this horrendous monster, you know. I mean, I may not have knew them before, but in a weird way I feel like I did, you know, because I had sat so many times thinking nobody else feels this way. It's impossible that anybody else is going through this, and lo and behold, I met like eight girls who I'm like, holy shit, you definitely know how I feel, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to watch them grow as well has been, it's been great.
Yeah. Mm. And as we're wrapping up, what if someone's listening and they're going through something similar, maybe they know somebody that's going through something similar, what would you recommend for them to do? Who would you say to contact?
So, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, their website is missingkids.org. They have a link called Get Help. They have a cyber tip line where you can report this type of abuse. So, whether it's you reporting it for yourself or for a friend or a family member, an analyst will reach out to you. They will start a case if there's not been one started. Um, and just know you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to get stuck in those feelings of hopelessness and feel like this is going to be the rest of your life, but it won't be. There
Yeah,
there
that's
are people out there who are willing to help you. You just have to find them. And
mm-hmm.
like I said, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a great place to start.
Yeah. NCMEC.
NCMEC. Ah, I love them.
Yes, their analogy makes me smile. Perfect. And we'll definitely link those, the documentary too that you mentioned in the beginning for people to check out. I think that was great. And if people are interested, are they able to reach out to you either for support or resources?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a consultant email that I can give to you. You can link it, or it's tsigns.consultant@gmail.com. I
Awesome.
can send them resources. I am also part of the National Center's volunteer program called Team Hope. I am a part of Stars in the Dark, and we are the only volunteer group that is made up strictly of survivors. So I also help give peer support to other adults who were exploited as children. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you were exploited, your case is closed, but you still feel like you need that additional help. Reach out to Team Hope. We will get you set up with a consultant who, you know, they feel is right for you. And that support does not run out. You can get that support as
Mm-hmm.
long as you need it. You know, it could be a couple weeks, it could be a couple years, you know, whatever you need. Honestly, I feel like they genuinely do have all the answers. They might say we don't, but damn, they have a lot of them.
So good. Well, thank you again, Taylor, for coming on today. This was so great. And I, again, appreciate you being so open and sharing your story and giving hope, to other people that are out there that, again, might have gone through this or heard of somebody going through this. And also just to shed some awareness around this topic as well is, I think, really, really important too.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for allowing me to come on here and take up an hour of your time just talking. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week, and until then, keep owning your sexual self.